So we're going to do a design challenge where we kind of explore these different forces, okay, in the model that we're making. So the prompt is, can you design and build a model paper rocket that can travel as far as it can across the room? Okay, so we're going to be making paper rockets, and to test our designs, the launch pad is actually going to be a straw. So we're going to make the paper rockets. They're going to look something like this, and you're going to put it in a launch pad or the straw, and when you blow, you're going to create that thrust that's going to move the rocket. Okay, so for this activity, you are going to need some paper, a scissor, some tape, one straw, a pencil or something that you can wrap the paper around, like a chopstick or pen or, you know, anything like that, and a ruler. If you don't have a ruler, you can try to eyeball it, okay? One of the things you're going to think about when you're designing your rocket is, because we're going to be following some instructions on a worksheet to help guide us through the steps. But one thing that you're going to have to think about is deciding on your fins, okay? So how many fins are you going to have? What is going to be the size of your fins? What might be the shape of your fin? And where might you actually place your fins? So as you're working on your designs, I want you to think about that, because the instructions don't say what you should exactly do. That's something for you to kind of explore and use as a variable or something you change to observe the effect of that, okay? All right, so in the lesson plan, you're gonna see a set of instructions that looks like this. So we found this great resource on the NASA website, and the steps are very simple, the materials are very simple, okay? So we're gonna follow these steps and you'll have a chance to actually test your rockets, okay? So first step is you're going to find your piece of paper. Now, we're going to need to make a strip out of that paper, and the measurements are 4 centimeters by 28 centimeter strips of paper. So if you have a ruler, make sure you're looking at the centimeter side, okay? And make sure you have your paper. And with your pencil, you can go ahead and kind of trace your measurement. Okay, so for example, 4 centimeters, let's see. Okay, here we go. All right, so my ruler was kind of like millimeters, so I had to just recalculate my measurement. All right, so I've traced my measurement, and what you're gonna do is cut out that strip of paper. All right, so you should have your strip of paper ready. Okay, so here's mine. Let's see how we're doing in the group here. Okay, I think a bunch of us have that ready. All right, so the next step, as you could see in the resource, the graphic, you're going to wrap the paper around a pencil, because we need the pencil width to fit the straw in. So we're going to take our pencil and start wrapping the paper around the pencil. Okay. Try to get it all the way down, as snug as possible. Okay, so once you have the paper wrapped around your pencil, you go ahead and you grab your tape, and you're gonna put some tape in 3 locations, the top, the middle, and the bottom, so as to make sure that the paper doesn't come off and unroll. I'm gonna do the bottom first, because that's the part that's open. Okay, there's 1. 2, and 3. I'm actually going to put 1 more piece, because you could see I have a piece of paper sticking up there. We don't want that. We want it to be as streamlined as possible. So I'm going to fix that. And you know, one of the things that the kids could think about and try are using different types of paper, and compare and contrast the results with, you know, would your rocket go farther if you use construction paper like me? Or would it go farther if you use magazine paper or regular paper? So that's a nice way to kind of experiment and talk about the differences in the results. All right, so once you have that step with the rolled up paper all taped up, you're going to carefully remove the paper from the pencil, okay? And this is the body of our rocket. And you know, that's something that you can even discuss before you do this activity. You can talk about, well, what are some of the parts of a rocket? And you can discuss, you know, like the body. We're going to be making the nose piece and the fins, so they could talk a little bit about those parts. All right, so once you have your paper removed from the pencil, the next step is to cut off the ends, because we want it to be as straight as possible, okay? So I'm gonna cut off one end, just a little bit. And I'm gonna cut off the other end just a little bit. Okay, so here's my body of the rocket, the tube. All right, the next step is to fold back one end of the rocket, fold it back and tape it down, okay? All right, fold that back and tape it down. Oops, just like this. What's interesting is that another thing kids could experiment with is the shape of the nose piece. Like right here, it's kind of like a straight shape, but what would happen if it was a different shape, you know, whether it's pointy or flat? That could be something that kids can try if they make another model and compare and contrast. Okay, so we have our body and we folded back one end. So now it's time to think about your fins, okay? You see in the picture here, the examples that NASA has used, but go ahead and with the extra paper that you have and your pencil, think about how many fins you want, the shape of it, the size, and once you've decided on that, you're gonna cut them out and tape them onto your rocket, okay? So decide on the number, the size, and the shape of your fin, right? You draw that on your paper, cut it out, and then start taping it onto the rocket. So I'm gonna do that as well, and I'm gonna share with you some tips for how to actually get the fin on, because sometimes kids have a little bit of difficulty with that, okay? So let me make my fins. And try to make them as equal as possible so that it's a fair, a fair test rocket.
Are there 3 or 2 fins?
It's up to you. In the example here, I believe they have 2, but I really want you to decide, how many you want to have, the shape and the size. If you need the ruler for this, that's perfectly fine as well. And it actually would be great if kids could say, oh, I made 2 fins that were 1 inch, or however many centimeters and things like that. So for example, I'm going to make 3 fins that are 2.5 centimeters long by 1.5 wide. That's just what I'm going to do. Just going to try it out. Okay, once you draw them out, you go ahead and cut them. Okay. All right, so I have my fins, and just going to spotlight so that I can share with you some tips for how to actually attach the fins to the body of the rocket. So I'm going to take a small piece of tape, okay, something like that. And I'm going to place my fin like this. Okay, so what I'm going to do is put the piece of tape on one side, one edge of the fin like that. And I'm going to tape that onto the bottom. This is just, I decided to do it on the bottom. If you want to do it in a different place, that's fine as well, because we're experimenting. But I'm going to place that on the body of the rocket. Okay, and notice that this side doesn't have tape, so I'm going to cut a small piece and add it to this side here, so it doesn't kind of bend, it kind of stays stiff and straight. So you get a small piece of tape and you add it to the back that doesn't have the tape there. Oh, whoops, add it to the back. And just try to push down nice and tight so that it's secure. Okay, so here, notice that I have both sides secure on the body of my rocket. Okay, now I'm going to do the same thing with my other 2 fins, and you can go ahead and finish doing yours as well. And while we're doing that, maybe some of you can comment on what you decided for your fins. You can write it in the chat, or you can just speak. What did you decide on? Did you decide on 1 fin, 2, 3, 4? What was the shape you wanted that you made? And approximately what's the size? So if you'd like to share in the chat, you know, definitely do. And that's something that you would do with your kids. You know, they would comment on their design parameters.
And Michelle just had a great suggestion of really just adding music to this part to let kids work while having calming music in the background. It's a great suggestion.
Yeah, definitely.
Michelle, what kind of music do you offer your youth?
Maybe jazz or meditative music, drums. You know, we usually take a vote. They usually want hip hop, but I said, no, we want to do something calming. Violin music,
Classical,
gospel.
right?
Yeah, so, you know, giving them student voice by having them choose music. And what I like about doing that is often they'll come back with music from their native land or their culture. So now we're doing the diversity piece, you know. I had a student that had music from Ecuador, I think. Her family has a band or something, or so that's an idea.
Wow, that's pretty cool. That's awesome. Yeah, I think it's a great opportunity for kids to show who they are and, you know, a piece of their identity as they're developing their STEM identity by doing the activity. So they're sharing their cultural identity and learning how to identify as a STEM person, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll prepare a playlist for next Saturday.
Sounds good.
If you folks have suggestions, send them our way. Otherwise, it might go classical. All right, so if you have your rocket, just hold it up on the screen so we could see some of the variety. All right, I think Andrea has some. Ooh, okay. Ooh, you have big fins. Three triangle? Okay, very nice.
3 big ones,
What's that orange part you're holding?
Duct tape. It's
Ooh.
duct tape. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know.
Very nice.
It might be a little too much, but that's what I had.
Okay, that's fine. We'll see how it works. You know, we got to test it.
Did I miss the part? Did we put anything on the other end?
No, we cut and folded the nose piece back. But if you want to experiment with that, that's fine as well. Because kids can make another rocket to compare it to, or they can make adjustments and things like that. Okay, so if you, let's see, Dominga, let's see. Let me add you here. Wow, those are huge fins. You have 2 of them? Oh, it kind of looks like a plane. Cool. Very nice, very nice. All right, let's see. Anybody else? Oh, I see a lot of them. Okay, let's go to May. Oh, you made 2 rockets. Okay, you have the top one, is that 2 fins? Okay, and then the bottom one also has 2? Oh, it's the size difference. So one is large and one is small, and the shape is, I like that shape. So it's kind of like flat on the bottom and angled in. Okay. So the paper body part, it looks kind of large, but we're gonna, I think it was supposed to be 4 by 28 centimeters, but let's try it, because if this works, you did inches, I think, right? You did inches? Okay, let's try it. Let's see if it works. If not, then you know how to make it. You just have to make it smaller, okay? So we're gonna try it and see, because I'm actually curious. All right, let's see who else. M499. Oh, you have 3 fins. Okay, 3 fins with a similar shape to me.
Yes.
Oh, Caroline, sorry about that.
Yeah,
I
sorry.
didn't see your name at first.
Yeah.
All right, great job. Great. Yeah. So yours, it looks kind of large as well. I think you might have done inches. We're gonna try it out. We're gonna try and we're gonna see.
Sorry, same shape as the straw and the pencil.
Okay, let's see, Tahira. Let's see. All right, so you have 3 fins, 2 fins? 2 fins. Similar shape to May, which was the example that NASA used. So that's a great starting point. Okay, I think those are most of our examples, right?
Yeah, 2 fins.
Oh, wait, Jocelyn, hold up. Oh, okay, so you have 3 fins, and then did you change the nose piece? You made it pointy? Okay, all right, great. So we're gonna see how that one does. All right, everyone, so now that you have your models, your rockets made, we're gonna test them out. Okay, we're gonna test it out. Like I said, some of them look a little too large, but let's see what happens. And if it doesn't work as well, then you know next time to make them a little smaller, the 4 by 28 centimeters, okay? All right, so what you're gonna do is take your rocket, find your straw, put the rocket on the launch pad or the straw, just like that. You're gonna look around your room. You're going to find a target. And so for example, I'm going to, I know you guys can't see it, but my target is going to be.
Not the cat, Jasmine.
Not the cat. I'm going for my Frida Kahlo, have like a poster of her. So that's gonna be my target.
That's not very nice.
Okay, you're right. I'm gonna go for my door. It's pretty neutral.
Oh my goodness.
I just love that poster. So anyways, I'm going for my door. So find your target, okay? And you can put the straw to your mouth, and what you're gonna do is you're going to add thrust by blowing into the straw, and hopefully that will launch a rocket to the target. Ready? 3, 2, 1. Ooh, I was short. All right, thumbs up if you hit your target. Thumbs up. All right, Jocelyn, great job. Caroline, excellent. Dominga, how was yours?
It barely made it. And then my dog ran away with it.
Okay.
So
that's okay.
Mine went as far as almost to the door.
Wow, okay.
Yeah.
Mine almost made it to the door, but it did something like dipped right before it actually hit the door. So I wasn't as successful as some of you, but I might tweak my rocket a little bit.
No, mine went straight. It went straight, but it didn't hit the door. It just stopped before, but it went like.
Oh, okay. So it kind of just
It dived. It dived, yeah. I didn't blow as hard as enough, but it's good.
Okay, so you're saying that the thrust,
I'm asthmatic, so I don't have that big thrust because I'm asthmatic. So the little I did, it got that far.
Okay, so maybe
it worked.
Maybe playing around with the thrust would give you a different result. Okay. And
Jasmine, I have a question.
yeah.
Doesn't the paper rocket have to be inside of the straw? Inside the straw, not outside the straw.
Okay, so here's my straw, and I'm going to put the rocket.
That's how it was.
Like on top of it?
Yeah.
Yeah, because you're going to add thrust. You're going to add thrust by blowing through the rocket.
No, it's not going anywhere.
Ours did not do well. It was ready to, and then our tip just completely was destroyed when we tried to.
So my question is, the rocket is filling. Okay, is the straw inside the rocket or is the straw outside of the rocket?
Inside.
It's inside,
so,
right?
Yeah. So it's inside of the rocket, and you try to get it as low as possible. And when you create the thrust, it's gonna push the rocket out.
Okay, we're retooling.
Okay, dear rocket, was it wide enough to fit the straw?
It was in the beginning, but then we had a problem with the fins, so we took them off and then we ruined the base a little. So we're reconstructing it now.
Okay, if you want to try it without the fins, I can
okay.
too.
Yes,
Just
we
to
got it.
see.
We got it. She
it
hit
worked?
the target. It's like 5.5 feet, and it went straight. It went completely straight. So
Okay.
it worked.
But it
That
curves
was-
down. It doesn't go all the way. Look. Ready?
What? Don't put it too close to me. What is that? No.
Oh, I like what you did, Jocelyn. So you actually went.
Huh?
Uh-oh, I froze.
What?
Okay, I think I froze for a second there. Am I
Yeah.
back? Okay, sorry about that.
I heard my name.
So Jocelyn, you were testing it like a real rocket to the ceiling.
But it didn't go
That's
up.
cool. That's cool. Yeah, that could be a fun way to test it, right? Okay.
Yeah, it spins around. It's cool.
Okay, let's see, May, how did it go with the large rocket?
Oh, it was terrible.
Did it move at all?
It did, but it went down like almost like immediately. I think the body's too heavy. And then the thinner, the one with the smaller fins and slightly longer, definitely went further, like at least 2.5 feet long, further. So yeah, I definitely think that the size of the rocket made a huge impact on the way it flew and how fast it went.
You're making enough for everybody?
Okay, so the shorter one worked better is what you're saying.
No, the slimmer one. The first one I made,
The slimmer one. Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
the slimmer one was slightly longer. The fins were tiny, and then the one that went down like this was thicker, and the fins were huge, and it immediately just went down. I think it's also how much, I don't know how big of an air I blew into the rocket, so that also had an impact. And it definitely needs more air. Like I have to really blow hard to like.
Okay, so
Yeah.
I'm hearing a lot of great things there. So it sounds like you were able to kind of figure out what variables might be more optimal.
Yeah.
And the next step would be is for kids to tweak the designs or redesign one with those optimal variables to see if they get a better result, okay, to kind of test their idea. And it said something else. Oh, with the thrust. The thrust definitely sounds like it's affecting our results for a lot of us, which is to be expected. When you have a larger thrust, you're gonna see a big difference. So one of the things with this activity is that it's often hard to control the thrust because, for us to like blow equally every trial, it's tricky. It's a little bit difficult. All we can ask the kids to do is try to make it as equal as possible, or test out the thrust and purposely make it unequal to see the result and have a conversation on how thrust affects the results. So that's something to consider.
Okay.
Let's see. Okay, I think most of us shared out, and I love your example so far. So let's debrief a little bit about this activity. Oh, one thing that I wanted to share with you all is that in the lesson plan, you're gonna have access to this worksheet. Now it says straw rocket worksheet. In the original write-up of this activity, we make a different type of rocket where the body is actually the straw, and we use a launch pad from a company called Pittsco. So that's why this worksheet says straw rocket worksheet, because it was intended for those materials. I'm gonna share with you what that looks like in a second. But the kids, they can work in teams, and they can also be individual, since if we're doing remote learning. But the idea is that you would talk a little bit about, the question would be what they're testing, and you can talk a little bit about variables, what you're changing, what will happen what you think will happen when you change that. And the kids can make 2 rockets to compare. One could be the control, maybe the one that's in the NASA instructions that we went over. And then the second rocket could be their experimental rocket, where they would make one change to see if there would be a difference. So they would make one change, and in order for it to be a fair test, a fair comparison, they would keep certain things the same or constant. This way it's easier to speak about that one change and its effect on the rocket. So this is a nice worksheet to do with the kids, because then they can speak a little bit more scientifically about their results, okay? Let me just share with you, in the original lesson, these are the materials that were intended for the original lesson of this, before we had to adjust this to remote. Let me show you what that looks like. Okay, so this is the company called Pittsco. They also, obviously, they have it on Amazon, but you can also get it directly from Pittsco. And the materials are these straws that you see here. They're a little different from traditional straws in that they're a lot stronger. They're more rigid. There's also paper for them to make their fins. And there's modeling clay for them to make the nose piece, so they could play around with the size and the shape and things like that. This right here is called the Pittsco Launcher, and you can play with the angle of the launch. So your straw rocket would go on that little gold piece, that kind of like metal piece there, that's where you would place the straw rocket after you set the angle. And what you would do to launch it is, you see this plunger right here? You lift up that handle, and then it falls down, creating a thrust of air that then pushes out of that metal piece, making the rocket move or push forward, okay? What's nice about these materials is that you can control several things. You can control the angle of your launch, and you can actually control the thrust. For example, if you want a thrust of 20, you would always lift it up to 20 to make it equal and fair. So if you are able to do an in-person experience, this kit would be an excellent follow-up to the paper rocket activity. It's obviously a little trickier to do this at home. However, Pittsco does make mini rocket launchers. And that, if you're making kits for the kids that you're sending it out or letting them borrow, the mini launchers might be a worthwhile investment, and they're a lot cheaper as well. So those are just some examples of how you can follow up with the paper rocket activity. Another wonderful thing you can try with the kids is Capri Sun stomp rockets. Some of us may have had a pouch drink called the Capri Sun juices. And this is just a video explaining how to make that. And they're really, really cool. If the kids have some of these materials at home, that would be great. Or maybe they can ask their parents to get, some Capri Sun drinks. Let me just fast forward to what the end product looks like, just so that you could see how cool these are.
You gonna try?
Yeah, I want to do it.
All right, let's do it. Do you have the Capri Sun?
Yeah, right here.
The first thing we're going to want to do is take out the straw, because the Capri Sun straw is too small and it's a little bit hard and a little bit sharp. So we're going to take that out. Stick your scissors in that little tiny hole and make a little cut to make it a little bit bigger. So now we have a launcher, we need a rocket. There's a lot of ways you can make a rocket, but I like to use a straw, another straw. Now, in order to make this rocket work, we need a larger straw so it can fit over the end of our aiming straw. You can vary the length of the straw and test out some different things. Go ahead and cut a piece of straw. There you go.
All right, she's about to test it. Okay, so that's just an example of another possible follow-up activity that you can try with the kids with the Capri Sun pouches. It's a lot of fun. They get to kind of stomp on the pouch and get a little aggression out. So it's always nice to kind of use your body movement when you're testing things out. It's a lot of fun. So just some suggestions on how to add on to this the Rocket series of lessons, especially if you have STEM multiple times a week. You can think about having these different experiences for them to try. And I think some people also have tried it other ways, so that would be great. You can even do like a paper airplane activity, you know, because there's similar forces involved, the thrust, the lift, and things like that. And they can play around with the shapes of the airplane as well as a follow-up. And the lesson plan has different suggestions for you all to try and extend this. I think Ms. Darden, milk containers from the cafe. Oh, okay. Yeah, you could definitely, if you have extra materials from school, definitely experiment. Definitely try different things.